Hey, what's up everyone? What's up, Alter Tech back again with a new exciting video. In today's video, I want to show you guys some of the camera samples I've taken with the Pixel 6 Pro, or the Pixel 6 Pro, I wish I had the Pro, with the Pixel 6 in New York City last night. Alright guys, so there's a poll on Twitter in which I asked you guys which phone do you want to see me shoot in New York City in RAW. So I gave you guys the option of the iPhone 13 Pro, Pixel 6, OnePlus 9 Pro. So this was an unexpected trip. I did have the iPhone 13 Pro, Pixel 6, and the OnePlus 9 Pro in my pocket at the time, but I didn't want to look like a weirdo and walking around with two phones in my hand, just, taking photos of everything. My adventure began in Grove Street, and you guys could see I was trying to wait for that path train to come by so I could get that similar path train shot with the long exposure mode. Overall, the camera quality in good lighting conditions, it's been great for the Pixel 6, but as you guys can see here, I wanted the front of the train to be in focus and the rest of it to be in that motion blurring effect. But now it did lock into this Grove Street sign, and for the most part, motion mode, you never know what you're going to get. But this is in beta mode, so it's going to get better over time as well. Now, as for the adventure, it started off in New Jersey, ended up in New York City, and for the street photography, it was a nice experience, just being able to just point and press one button and have it actually do all the work for you. But I'll also say this, in Times Square is pretty much like one of the hardest locations to take photos with a smartphone because there's so many lights, and they're blinking and flashing, and I'm pretty sure it's confusing the heck out of these phones. I did get to test out the video quality on the Pixel 6 Pro, and I want you guys to be the judge for yourselves. I think it did a great job compared to the Pixel 4 with the highlights and everything. With the HDR, you're definitely seeing it, the improvements with the Pixel 6. And for nighttime shots like this, I think this did a great job of just balancing the highlights and the shadows as well. It didn't lift up the shadows too high. And for this one as well, even for the wide angle camera, in good lighting conditions, the wide camera on the Pixel 6 is great. But as you guys will see later on, the wide camera, you'll see like a noticeable big drop in performance when you switch it in low light. Now with the OnePlus 9 Pro, I guess this ultra wide camera had me spoiled. Like in any situation, you would get a flagship near experience with that ultra wide camera. And this instance, this is with another long exposure. I tried to expose the smoke a little bit more longer. For this one, here you go. This was normal. This is long exposure. As you guys can see, the blurring effect of the people and whatnot. Now, as for the Pixel 6, I don't think it's much of a boost in camera performance, but it's more for software tricks. And the main reason to get this phone is not really for the cameras, but it's for the overall software experience. And as you guys can see, a lot of beautiful images and the sound as well. I want you guys to just check this out real quick and listen to the sound. Let me know what you guys think about it. So at 2x zoom, does a decent job as well. And you guys can see the highlights and everything. It just looks very, very, very well exposed, man. I'm really happy with it. Now this is a shot of Bumblebee, as you guys can see. Looking pretty good, very detailed and whatnot. No complaints. And as for the images, pretty good as well. If we were to zoom in a little bit, surprisingly, everyone's in focus. I guess this is a very, nicely lit situation. This one, for some reason, just came out very dark. I did use portrait mode. I guess it didn't realize that this was an actual human being. It's a robot in a costume. And for Minnie Mouse as well, I mean, maybe you guys might like it, but you know, like I said, with the flashing lights and whatnot, sometimes when those lights turn off a little bit, you get some dark images. So there's so much factors when it comes to taking a photo in Times Square. And as for this long exposure shot with this cab, you know, sometimes it takes a really long exposure, like you'll have like the whole motion like throughout the entire screen, and sometimes you'll have like this short exposure. So there really isn't much control to this effect, but I tried using it a lot because I wanted to master it, and I really didn't do a good job. But for this job, I was just testing out the, you know, close-up objects with that bokeh, with that huge, you know, Samsung sensor, the GN1. It's actually real bokeh. This is not portrait mode. This is just, you know, the regular mode. So the sensor is bigger, so you're going to have a larger, you know, depth of field when you're taking shots up close. So as for the pretzel, it does feel like they added a little bit more contrast on this. And this is something new. You know, I really didn't expect higher contrast to the Pixel. And now with the OnePlus Oxygen OS 12 update, I'll make a video on that. Contrast has been bumped up. You guys know I'm not really a big fan of, you know, highly processed images with auto mode. I prefer to do the editing myself. I prefer a more of a neutral image, somewhat of you would find on the Pixel 4. And some more street photography. The lights over here is a little bit overblown. I could probably edit this, but the good thing about the Pixel is that you have the option to keep or shoot everything in RAW. So all these photos I've taken, there's a copy of them in RAW. But unlike the iPhone, you're starting out from scratch when it comes to editing in RAW. So there's a lot of editing to do, and sometimes you just don't have the time to do all that for every single photo. This was a nice shot. And the ultra wide, like I said. Now, if I were to go back to that other photo and zoom in at the crossing guard, the Radio City, it looks decent. But for the ultra wide, let's see. Yeah, it's just a lot more blurry. It's not as sharp. I believe the ultra wide on this is the same one on the Pixel 6 Pro. So for non-photographers, they're like, just, you know, I just want the ultra wide because it's cool. But you'll get some nice, you know, great shots with the Samsung GN1 sensor like this one. Everything's just nice and crisp. Very nice shot. Everything to highlight it's a little bit overblown, but it's a nice shot overall. NBC Studios, LED lights. And the Christmas tree, the Rockefeller Christmas tree, this is it. Very nice. I would say very detailed and sharp all around. For some reason, I just feel like these images coming from the Pixel is it just feels a little bit more overly processed, a little bit, compared to the Pixel 4. The Pixel 4, it really could fool people into thinking it came from a DSLR, like not the expensive ones, but like a pretty decent DSLR. But, you know, these are nice shots, decent shots. And wait for the ultra wide. Now for the ultra wide, you guys can see the lights are just very, very muddy. As for the words on the sign as well, it gets very muddy. Going back and forth, you guys can see the differences. And 2x zoom is not bad. You know, high res zoom is not bad on this phone. I'll say that. But as a photographer, you know, you need that versatility, which is why I wish I had the Pixel 6 Pro. It's unfortunate because T-Mobile, I guess they were low on stock, so there's no discounts anymore on the Pixel 6 Pro. I didn't know it was going to be back ordered for this long. And for this one, the blacks on this one, like they're just very, very darker than usual. Now I could have probably played around with the sliders, but sometimes you never know what you're going to get. Let's say I took this shot, I would have to readjust it and take it again. This one was for the long exposure mode, just having fun with it, seeing what you're going to get. You know, it's a nice software trick. This one, again, main camera, nice and crispy. The tree and everything, the flags over there, looking pretty good. Ultra wide, not bad, but a little bit muddy. You know what, let me just go ahead and zoom in and see the texture on her hair. So for a night shot, this isn't bad. Now this is a 4K video shot, 2x zoom, looking nice and good. Ultra wide, looking good as well. I mean, for the average consumer, you guys are gonna have a good time with this phone. But if you're a pro photographer, you guys are gonna, like, you know, you'll notice the shortcomings on this phone. But let me know what you guys think about the video quality and the sounds as well. Now as for the stabilization on this phone, listen, I have very steady hands. Now here is a good stabilization test. I'm trying to walk, but keep this in mind, I have very good stabilization, you know, in my body. Like, I have steady hands, and I'm just, you know, being nice and smooth, you know, keeping a steady balance. Some people were saying they wish they had 4K at 60 frames, and yes, so I didn't really miss it, but when I took my OnePlus 9 Pro and I snapped on 4K at 120 hertz, it was 120 frames. It was definitely a big difference. So it would be nice to get, you know, 4K 60 on the Pixel 6, but you know, if there's going to be overheating issues, you know, I'm not going to tell them to force it, because then the tech community is going to just start complaining how it's overheating. So, you know, it's better not, I know, pick your poison. I think Google should just hold on to 4K 60 until it's ready. Beautiful looking lights. Now the exposure, it's automatic. I don't think I'm controlling anything right now. There's another stabilization test, just walking, having a good time, enjoying the Christmas lights and whatnot. You got Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse trying to make a buck. Beautiful lights. Nice job with Google with the HDR. Now this one, I really wanted to get this picture, so I was like, you know what, now's a good time to use portrait mode. I really wanted to test out portrait mode on this camera, and this was a nice shot. I mean, this was a nice opportunity, but as you guys could see, it's muddy. I guess it was maybe too dark or whatnot. It is what it is. Now this is the portrait mode, and I wanted to get a lot of detail on this, man. You got the Grinch pointing at me with King Kong in the background. A nice image, looking pretty boss, but for some reason it just came out very, you guys can see, just muddy. There's not much detail. I'm not sure what's going on, man. This shot actually came out the opposite, very, very nicely detailed. Swipe, another good shot, clean shot. The Rockefeller Plaza, you know, nice and clean. This is what I like. Now this one, you know, just checking out to see, like, you know, how well it captures these images. So the wording over here, again, it feels like they added a lot of, you know, extra sharpening to the image. And for this guy, check out his voice.
We'll tell your charms, all right, with these arms to say wow. You think you've grown before the baby.
Now this was a nice clip. I mean, you got the cars in the background, the lights are being controlled very well. You got the subject, great exposure. You guys could really, you know, see his face and everything, the details, you know, looking pretty good. Looking pretty freaking good. Now you guys, gotta tell me in the comment section what you guys think about the audio. Now this one, we have the water fountain, and I think I did a long exposure shot. This came out really nice. And here we do have the Empire State Building with the Samsung GN1. Everything looks very, very nicely exposed, looking pretty good. You know, zooming in, very nicely detailed. And if I want to do that at 2x with super res zoom, it actually does a very nice job as well. Like I couldn't really tell that this was a digital zoom. Going back and forth, they both look pretty damn good, and I'm impressed. So even for this tree branch up on top over here, very nice. Now this one, I wanted to take this one because it was in a, I would say, in good lighting condition, and I wanted to just see how much it could capture when it comes to detail. The signs and everything, it's not bad, pretty decent, but what is it focusing on? It's focusing on this guy and his backpack, or it's focusing on this sign over here. And the sign over here came out really nice and sharp, very nicely detailed. And this one, this is a good demonstration of the eraser tool. So let's say I wanted to erase all this distractions. You got this guy looking at me, he's in motion, it's kind of blurry. The Macy's sign is nicely just, captured. And this food court over here, nicely captured as well. And magic eraser, it erases everyone. You do have a little of a weird effect over here, but for the most part, you got this guy, he's gone too. But for the most part, the average person who just posts images on Instagram and social media, they don't really care. And for Instagram, you can't really zoom in, so they're probably not even going to notice those little, defects as well. And now here, I did take the shot with the OnePlus 9 Pro when it first came out, or when I first got it, and it was amazing. So I wanted to capture another great image with the Pixel 6. And as you guys can see with this statue, there's a lot of details. Well, you guys can see the bird poop just raining down on this guy. It looks like he's he's just tired of life. Birds, just shitting on top of his head. His clothes covered in shit all day, and it looks a bit just depressed. And for that, iPhone 13, there's always an iPhone 13 sign in this location. But overall, it's a very nice image, very nicely exposed. It's a night shot, but holy crap, very, very bright. And the OnePlus 9 Pro actually did a great job with portrait mode on this shot. And of course, since there's a lot of lights nearby, the ultra wide is going to do a nice job as well. 2x zoom. It's crazy how much detail I'm actually getting with digital zoom, or Google's super res zoom. And back to Jersey City, guys. So ultra wide in a nicely lit location. Nice job. Christmas tree up close. I couldn't get to the Rockefeller tree up close, so this is as close I was going to get to a Christmas tree. And zooming in, not too bad. I'll take it. I just feel like I said, it just feels like these pixel images feel a little bit more overly processed than before. But it's nice for Instagram. You guys are gonna enjoy it, love it. And I hope you guys enjoyed my coverage on the Pixel 6 or my trip to New York City. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know. Anyways, guys, this is Alter Tech. Hope you guys have a great and wonderful day. Take care. Peace.